that's going to make
Right.
it simple.
It's cold? Too
No,
cold?
it's not that cold. No, I'm just saying, like, eventually.
Don't fall asleep. Wake up. There's coffee downstairs if you need it. Guys, here we go. So, the coffee's free. Alright, it's not very good, but it is free. Alright guys, let's talk about bioenergetics. You can go ahead and guess what that means.
Energy.
Biology of energy. Okay? It is very important to know things like that. Okay? Prefixes and suffixes like bio and physio and whatever else I can't think of right now are important to know, because when you know those basic terms to the T, then the rest of the terms kind of make sense. You don't really need to know what bioenergetics are to know that bio comes from biology and energetics comes from energy, and so this is biology of energy, meaning the study of the processes of energy in the human system. Okay? Everybody with me?
Yep.
Metabolisms. Look at tell me what metabolisms are.
It's the breakdown.
Breakdown of energy. Okay. So what else?
Breakdown, stored energy that's broken down.
Stored energy broken down. How that happens. Anybody else got anything?
Maybe how you break down your fuel for energy?
Yes, very much so. So these are all similar. Essentially, metabolism is, yes, how we transfer energy in our bodies, be it from foods, be it from the tissues that are already existing in our bodies, so we're breaking down protein or muscle or something like that. That's also part of metabolism. Metabolism is all of the chemical reactions that occur in the body to maintain itself. Come on in. Metabolism is the Metabolism is all of the chemical processes and chemical reactions that occur in the body to maintain itself, okay? Uh-oh, what is exercise metabolism? It's like the same thing, but we're exercising, okay? So it's the focus study of those chemical reactions that occur while we're exercising, okay? So exercise metabolism versus metabolism. Metabolism is, again, one of those things that's happening in the background to create homeostasis. That word that I said earlier, okay? Homeostasis, meaning you are existing. You're not flatlining, you're not going into, some super Tabata workout. You are standing there and your body is functioning. Homeostasis, okay? Metabolism is happening in the background, and then when you do go out over there, we're not in homeostasis, and we're going to be focusing on exercise metabolism, okay? The fuel, the main fuel for your metabolism, they're called substrates. Substrates. Okay. Substrates are the material or substance on which enzymes act. The process of metabolism is chemical, or the basis of your metabolism is chemical reactions. Chemical reactions, you need something acting on something else for there to be a reaction, correct? You can't have a reaction with one person there. You need to have two things going on at the same time. Okay, so substrates are proteins, carbohydrates, and fats, aka macronutrients, aka macro, aka if it fits your macros. Come on, y'all, I'm doing my best work here. So those are your substrates are your fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. Okay, carbohydrates provide the fuel for your body for everything. Your exercise and carbohydrates are the main fuel system for your body. Okay? That's why, there's a joke, it's not a good one, there's a joke out there that's just, it's all glucose, right? So if you're eating an ice cream, you go, yeah, it's all glucose. Because it really is, okay? Whatever you eat, the way that it turns into energy is because it is turned into glucose, which is the main fuel source for your body processes, and definitely when you're working out. The storage form, okay, the glucose is the fuel form. The stored glucose is glycogen. Okay? Glycogen is a major energy source that we will use, and we're talking about different energy sources, right? And in turn, different energy systems, right? Certain systems will do certain things, cover certain types of work, and give you different results based on what you're trying to accomplish, okay? Other sources of fuel are going to be fats and proteins, okay? Your fats are going to help you We see heat vitamins, processed vitamins, you have fat-soluble and water-soluble micronutrients and vitamins, right? That's why willy-nilly taking, there's a, not in the book, that's why willy-nilly taking multivitamins may not be the best idea. Why? So it's water-soluble, so if I'm taking, and this doesn't have to be, this doesn't have to be micronutrient stuff, it can also be things like sodium. Sodium is water, so you pee it out, right? But too much vitamin D is a fat-soluble micronutrient. So what that means is that it's going to stay in your body and you can get poisoned from it. Okay, does that make sense? So there are other things that are like that. I don't have the list on the top of my head, but I can tell you that that's why when you're looking at nutrient deficiencies, we're talking about sending somebody to a specialist. Okay? Because you are not going to do blood panels. Okay? And you don't want to tell somebody, yes, this is exactly what, you know what I did is I took iron pills. I've seen this, okay? Iron is not meant to be taken unless you have an iron deficiency. Otherwise, you have issues, okay? Things as simple as carotene. As you would, not keratin, keratin, which you have heard of what happens when you start eating too many carrots. Okay, is everybody familiar with what happens if you start eating too many carrots? You get orange, you have terrible liver function, and you can really hurt yourself, okay? And that's just a simple thing to do, to hurt yourself by eating too many carrots. As a matter of fact, I'll even give you, this is another tangent, but I will give it to you. The reason that people think that eating carrots is good for eyesight, here we go, you guys ready for some good marketing? Have you heard of this? Eating carrots is good for your eyesight? Am I the only, raise your hands if you've heard that. Okay, good, we're in the lane, so you guys are lame, sir. I'll be lame with you. So look, the reason that people think that carrots are good for eyesight is because in the 1940s, the British, this is a true story, the British developed a new bomb sighting system. So when they were dropping bombs, they had a sight system that allowed them to drop bombs really well. Do you think the British were running around saying, oh yeah, we have this great, in an English accent, we have this great sight system, that's how we're bombing you guys? No! So they made up the story that British pilots were very good at dropping bombs because they ate a lot of carrots. And so, to this day, 7 decades later, people are saying like, yeah, you guys eat carrots, it's good for your eyesight. When it was literally just marketing propagated by the British Army in 1942. Like, that is a very simple thing. This is the same kind of thing that creates entire things like keto marketing. One study that comes out at some point, the fact that no man in here will eat a soy protein. Hey guys, you guys eating soy protein? Why are we not eating soy protein?
Well, increase estrogen.
That is something that was learned in 1994 by a study that had 20 people in it and was well marketed. Is there a true clinical causation, as in I took soy protein, it had a direct causation to me getting man boobs, which is literally what it is. They say that it causes too much estrogen release, and so therefore, or soy is loaded with estrogen, so therefore when you eat it as a man, you will get gynecomastia, which is, man boobs. So, is that the case? No, it's not. Simple as that. There's plenty of people eating soy protein, and they're not walking around with gynecomastia. And that's because that's not something that's actually happening. But Sean is not the first person to hear that, and neither am I, and neither are other dudes in this room. And so an entire facet of protein supplementation left out the window because, turned me into a chick, okay? And how appealing is that as a marketing study, right? How appealing is that? If I am not a soy protein producer, if I do whey, it's the easiest thing for me to do to get guys to stop using soy protein. Literally, it's like school around stuff. Like, yeah, no, I heard that gives you booze, right? And then now you're stuck, and you're miseducating people. Okay, so this is another moment of myths blown out of proportion and marketing creating dumb trainers and dumb clients. Okay, everybody with me? Any questions? Fats and metabolisms. Okay, so we talked about fat, we talked about glucose, we talked about. We haven't talked about fats and similar things and proteins. Okay, so fats also break down into triglycerides. Triglycerides are what we are going to be dealing with when we're talking about the chemical reactions of fat as a fuel source for your energy molecules that are called ATP. We'll get right into that. Protein also, before we get into there, are chain amino acids that have been linked with peptide bonds. Okay, so a little bit of chemistry in there for you. All you need to know is that protein is made up from amino acids. A complete protein has a full amino acid profile, and it is very important for muscular tissues and many other body processes. Now, when you talk about, oh my goodness, that guy's in a starvation diet, and so he's eating his muscle, the process of eating your muscle is called gluconeogenesis. Let's talk about those little fancy little terms inside of that word. Glucose, yes?
Yes.
Neo. Anybody tell me what neo means? I know it's not the Matrix. Neo. So something is neo. What is a neo-Nazi? It's a Nazi from now, a neo-Nazi. Okay? Not to bring Nazis into this. But yeah, neo means new. First. Or new. Doesn't necessarily need to be first, right? Genesis.
Breakdown.
Huh?
Breakdown.
Breakdown? No, Genesis is build.
Oh, yeah.
Genesis is build up. Okay? So gluconeogenesis is creating new glucose out of protein, out of non-carbohydrate substances. Most specifically amino acid. But what did I just say about proteins? They are created from an amino acid profile. Good, good job, guys. We're getting through it. It's about to get real hairy here, okay? Alright, so ATP. Adenosine triphosphate. This actually gets into one of my favorite things in physical training and kinesiology and all of these things that we're talking about. The reason this is one of my favorite things is because we're about to bust a lot of myths, okay? And we're also going to learn something about supplement that actually works. I'll never forget when I saw a supplement manufacturer come to us and say, would you like to buy supplements from us? And they had 150 supplements. And I said, what? What? I don't know. I'm not doing blood panels. I'm not doing this. And most of the stuff is frankly marketing. Again, that's going to be my opinion, but it's also going to be supported by factual studies, which is how I form my opinions. Okay, if you walk into a GNC, there's about a 70% filler rate, which means entire buckets filled with stuff that doesn't do anything, fillers, and things that are, they say they're 100% protein, but you're actually talking about 30% protein, about 70% of that tub is filler. Okay, so it's a big market, a big industry, it's unregulated. So when I see things like that, it really scares me. So I always look for what is the right type of supplementation? And the right type of supplementation can be learned from what we're about to talk about. Your main fuel energy unit is called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. There's also ADP, which is adenosine diphosphate. What's the difference between di and tri?
3.
2 and 3, exactly. So the difference between something that's useless for you and something that's in the moment useless for you, and the main fuel source for your body is 1-phosphate. Okay? So let's talk about this. So, and to be as strict as possible, what I'm telling you guys, primary source of immediate energy, adenosine triphosphate. Okay, and the energy is stored in the bonds, right? So chemical energy is stored inside chemical bonds. When bonds are broken, energy occurs. Okay, that is the basis of energy. It's important to know because it will make other things make sense for you, and you'll always remember something that a teacher told me and that I'm telling you is that you can't explain it to a 5-year-old, okay, an 8-year-old, they're actually speaking. You can't explain it to an 8th grader. You need to work on it, okay? You don't really have a grasp on the subject, okay? You might not know as much as the detail people, but be able to explain it properly. That's a better place to be than knowing way too much science that you can't really grasp, okay? All right, so let's talk about it. Muscle contractions and mechanical work. Okay, so muscle contractions, you guys know what that is. You flex, you extend, the muscles contracting above each other. Does everybody in here understand what slide and pull theory is?
Yes.
Yeah? Slide.
Like this slide filament theory, like that.
So not a lot of takers. We haven't covered that here in class.
Somewhat.
I'm sorry?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay, that's fine. I'm going to go over it basically. Right? This is how muscles work. And
What's the difference between ATP and ADP?
Different? Yes. There's just one phosphate of the difference. So ATP, adenosine triphosphate, 3 phosphates within adenosine, and then diphosphate being 2 phosphates. Okay, and you need 3 phosphates for it to be ATP. 2 phosphates is the end, is what's left over after the energy has been released. But it can be reinvigorated, whether through your body or through a supplement that you add. Okay, so. Sliding filament theory, I think that's the actual name of it, is essentially how your muscles work. So inside, I'm going to do this is a big muscle. And these are 2 of the fibers in that muscle. Now your muscles have millions of fibers in them. It's a muscle fiber bundle. Okay? And if you were to slice, we all know what the juiciest part of your muscle is called, the fattest part, the middle of a muscle?
The head. Or
no?
the belly, I mean.
The belly. So that is called your muscle belly. Also, this isn't fair because Sean has a kinesiology degree. But that is called your muscle belly, okay? So your muscle belly, this is also something I'll teach you right now, should feel like a muscle belly, right? If it feels like a piece of rock or PVC, that's what rolling is for. It means that things have stayed too tight, it has become too contracted, there are fibers that aren't releasing, and so therefore we have knots or one big tough muscle, okay? So a big thing to look for as you get little, because you know, sometimes you can be counterintuitive. You're out there trying to get hard and tight, right? So isn't it good to be hard and tight? No. You all may know Maddie, who's one of our pledge teams. She's going to train you guys today. You know Maddie. Maddie is a slice of lean muscle, that lady. But it got to be too much, because when you go into the gym, you're contracting, doing it again and again and again. And sometimes fibers that have become pulled together don't get the message to release. And so now Maddie, who's 23, starts feeling knee issues. And so we tell Maddie, okay, we have to release these things. And she doesn't, it all works out, right? Not because we're physically breaking things apart, but rather because we're communicating with our brain. Our brain, when it contracts, I'm talking about a bicep here, when it contracts, my brain is sending an electrical impulse. That electrical impulse is affecting fibers and changing the potassium and sodium bonds inside of your muscles to create the following effect. So these are, I'm giving you the basics here, okay? You have your fiber. Those fibers have what are called myelin filaments.
Yeah, there we go.
Thank you. Myelin filaments. Those are what attach to the other fiber. And what ends up happening is I send the signal, and they pull across each other. If you see it in a microscopic way, it literally looks like little hairs that are walking across each other. Okay? But they're chemical bonds, so they're very strong bonds. Okay? And that's why if they stay close, you have a problem. Okay? So, as these contract, ATP is being used for those contractions. Okay? ATP is the main fuel source that makes each step occur across the fiber. And so that's how we get to mechanical work. Mechanical work being work. We're body mechanics, biomechanics, and we are working. The measure of that, yes?
So basically when they get stuck, that's like Charlie horse?
That's a different version of that, right? But kind of the same thing. A Charlie horse is a acute versus a chronic thing. So let's talk about how a knot would be chronic. So I'm working my biceps. They're so tight. You guys have done this. You've worked on something so tight that you can barely open it out again, right? That's that those fibers are, and there's a pump and a bunch of other things, but those fibers are holding on, right? Eventually they should relax. Some don't. And so now when I go in there, I have a knot. What happens in it? So, but all this was chemical reactions, right? A cramp is similar to that. Now, while they do not have an actual scientific explanation for why cramps are happening, I can tell you that scientifically what's going on is chemical reaction. Something is, and it goes into a full contraction because it's a chemical bond, not just what you want it to do, right? That's how those things happen, and it's the same theory that's going on here, right? So I send an electrical impulse, it tells me use ATP, and these two start pulling into each other, okay? Start pulling into each other, walking across each other, and creating a contraction. Everybody with me on this, okay? The way that energy systems work has everything to do, and exercise in general works, has everything to do do with two things. Duration and intensity. What does that mean? I'm either going for a very long jog at a normal pace and I'm running a marathon, or I am sprinting for 10 seconds for 100 meters or whatever, or I am lifting something super heavy for 3 or 10 or whatever, but you know, I'm not sitting there for 30 reps or doing 2 hours of light work, okay? The best way to kind of show you guys this is HIIT versus LSD, okay? It's not the drug. So, HIIT is going to be high intensity interval training. That is going to be short duration, high intensity. LSD is going to be called long slow distance or long steady distance. I learned it as steady. I've noticed it's slow when you're looking at your tests, so I'm making a point. That's long duration, low intensity. Long duration, low intensity. Okay? What combination of the two you choose for yourself or your client has everything to do with which system, which energy system your body will be using. Okay?
But his interval training.
It is high intensity interval training. And so now you also know what that means when you see it marketed around. Right? HIIT. Let me be very clear here, for example. Interval training has been around forever. HIIT just got created about 10 years ago. LSD is long steady distance or long slow distance. So a marathon. Or a 12-mile jog or something. Everybody with me? We're going to talk, see the best way to describe this to you guys. Okay, we got a few different systems. 3 to be specific, though some have parts in them. Some have more parts in them than others. Here's how it looks. So this is the intensity axis. Okay? Axis of a chart. This is the duration axis. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show what would happen over the course of, say, 10 minutes. Okay? We'll use the same amount that they use in the book, which is 15. Something like that. 100%, I'm dying. 0%, I'm super chill. Okay? The way this is going to happen, let's see, I'm going to use a couple different colors. Thank you, Justin. So these are minutes, by the way. Okay. Here is the first system, called your phosphagen system or your ATP PC system. This is how this works, okay? Everybody ready? That's your ATP PC system. You're going to go 100% intensity and you're going to last about 15 seconds. Okay? So when you are talking about explosive work, let's say Javon wants to get his vertical to something impressive, right? So I go, all right, brother, let's work on that. Now, yes, of course, generally doing a bunch of work, generally working on your strength, sure, that will get us into better numbers, right? But what Javon is a man, he's box jumping a significant vertical. We're going to really have to start focusing on energy systems, on the things that actually get people where they're going, right? If I'm just trying to get better, then just do work, right? But if you're trying to focus on explosiveness, then you're going to work in this 100% 15-second world, right? Where I'm going to tell them, we're going to do the highest vertical you can possibly do for 3 reps. No more than 6, because in 6 reps, that man's out of 15 seconds, right? So he only has that jet fuel for about 15 seconds, okay? The way that the ATP PC system works, first of all, is ATP, adenosine triphosphate, and PC, which is phosphate creatine. Okay, so finally I told you what the supplement we're talking about is. Okay, creatine is a great supplement. Why is creatine a great supplement? Because unlike other supplements, creatine is something that is naturally occurring in your body. okay? And the system, like, for example, the other day I heard somebody say the following. On a podcast where they are the host of the podcast and they're talking about wine. Well, I think the difference between wine and tequila, I heard, is that wine goes straight to your brain and tequila has to go through your blood system. What kind of nonsense is that, right? It's nonsense. Everything goes through the bloodstream. Why one gets you drunker than the other one, I don't know. But it's definitely not that, okay? And so, and I don't know that it gets you drunker than the other one. I think they both do a pretty good job. But when you're talking about something like this, you're talking about something that the system of delivery works. Yes, if you take creatine and phosphate through your digestive system, it will make it into your bloodstream and it will make it to your muscles. First achievement, right? Because I can tell you right now that there are plenty of things that you take that don't do shit. Because when they cut that out and beat that into video, don't do anything for you. When you are, let's say, it's a good, okay, plenty of joint support. Plenty of joint support supplements. The minuscule amount, hey, Mr. James, come on in, take a seat back. The minuscule amounts, and I'll get this one here so we can pass the one from attitude. The minuscule amounts of anti-efficacy of many of the joint, like collagen, for example, when you're taking collagen, it's not quite as well proven how much collagen goes into you and how much actually gets to your joints or other things, right? They just know that collagen is in you. And so by taking collagen, it'll help. But there are no proven studies that show that intaking a bunch of collagen is going to make incredible differences for you. Can you take it? Because it has some anecdotal evidence, or it has, somebody who benefited from it pretty much. Is placebo effect a real effect? Yes. Yes, it is. Placebo effect is a real effect. As a matter of fact, you should hear about the nocebo effect, where you don't give people anything. They're literally willing themselves to be in better health because they think that something is doing the work. That has a real proven effect. Okay? So can you take these things? Yes. But creatine is one of those lucky ones where you can take it, you can believe it's going to work, and on top of that, all of the systems involved in getting that into your muscle bellies is perfectly great. Okay? The way that this works is you have about 15 seconds of ATP breaking off into ADP. Meaning, we have taken one of the phosphates, it's right there, man. You have taken one of the phosphates that is attached to adenosine, okay? The phosphate has broken off, and in that moment right there, there's an energetic reaction, okay? There's a broccoli. That's where the magic happens, okay? It's in that release of breaking that phosphate off, the compound, the energy, the potential energy of that compound right there is now in your system, and that phosphate is now free hanging, okay? Creatine phosphate supplies more phosphates to bond to ATP. Then comes in the glycolytic system. Right? Glycolysis and the ATP phosphate, ATP-PC system. The first and second systems are anaerobic, meaning they do not require any oxygen. Thank you. Yes. Do not require any oxygen. Right? So all that is left is our oxidative system. You heard about this yet?
No.
A real oxidative system is more like this. It never reaches a high level of energy. That's actually, let me try to keep things to actual scale. That's something like this. Right? The guy who's running that long marathon or that long run is not going to go give you high vertical hits. They're not going to go do heavy 5x5 lifts. You're talking about somebody who's found a pace and is sticking to it, right? Because you can't sprint for a marathon. Okay? So this is your oxidative system. explosive. Long steady distance. Rep training. Does all make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Yes? I hope it makes sense to training people out there. All right, so there are a couple things we need to touch on. So the glycolytic system is going to last you about, the first one lasts you about 10 to 15 seconds. I always went with the 14 seconds because that's what I wrote at the time. Well, the ATPPC system is 15 seconds. The glycolytic system will last you for about 50 seconds and can be used in repetition. Okay? So that, and what does 50 seconds mean? If not, about 10 to 12 reps or something. Straight through, correct? Okay. So if I'm doing straight through 10 to 12 reps, I'm going to be in that middle system. If I'm going to go into a very long, steady jog, again, I will be in that oxidative system. You will, most of the workouts that you do will fit into the glycolytic system. That's what we're training here. If you're doing power phases, okay, if you have an athlete and they're a sprint trainer, throw it on there. If Usain Bolt calls you, you're working in ATPPC. Okay? If you are with anybody else, you're working in glycolytic, and if you're with a marathon or a triathlete, you're at the oxidative. The oxidative system involves 3 different things. So these 2 we decided were anaerobic, correct? But the problem is that oxidative phase, as you notice, all of these are similarly linked, right? So glycolytic being the one in the middle means that there's an anaerobic version, and then there's an aerobic version. And the aerobic version is the one that leads to oxidative training, okay? That's going to get a little confusing here, okay? So let's talk about the differences here. You have aerobic and anaerobic. Your aerobic glycolysis will give you pyruvic acid, okay? Your non-aerobic will give you lactic acid. So this will help you remember what the hell's going on, because I know I'm saying a lot of things. But that lactic acid is the feeling that you get when you lift something tough for 12 to 15 reps, okay? But because glycolysis happens one way or another, when you first get on that treadmill, you're like, whoa, okay, right? So we are in ATPPC. We're going from 0 to something, correct? Then we kind of start feeling like, okay, we're back, right? We're jogging, it's normal. We have hit glycolytic because we have to do it. And there's going to be an anaerobic phase, and then there's going to be that aerobic phase, which will lead us into oxidative. So does this make sense?
Go back again, say when you started.
When you get on the treadmill, I'm standing on the belt, right? I'm standing on the sides. Belt is moving between me. I hop on. Okay, I'm in ATPPC for about 15 seconds. Because I went from 0 to I'm moving. Okay? Didn't have to be a maximal effort, it just was the first system to take on. Once I was on there for a second, my body's still not using oxygen. It's still using the ATP directly available in my muscles. It's sitting there, it's ready to get used, so why would we bother with anything else? Correct? As soon as I use that, I'm going to be still in anaerobic glycolytic state. Okay, so I'm in glycolysis. I haven't started using oxygen as fuel source. As soon as I've run out about 30 or 50 seconds of that, now my body's like, okay, we're definitely out of ATP, we're out of creatine phosphate, we need to bring in oxygen. We need to bring in fats, we need to bring in carbohydrates. This will lead us into why people think that fasted cardio makes sense. And we'll talk about that after a break. But essentially, what I mean to tell you is that each stage leads into the next one. Okay? And where you stay in depends on where you're resting. If I get here and then I rest, I'm starting it again, correct? That's rep training with proper rest ratios. If I'm just going and I just keep it at a pace that I can do for 40 minutes, then I'm oxidative, right? If I'm in power phase and I'm trying to get that huge vertical for 3 jumps, then I'm living right here and then I'm taking 2 minutes to wait for all this to come back, correct? Are you with me? You guys have studied periodization, right? Stability, endurance, hypertrophy.
Yeah.
So this is how these systems also work with those phases. Power phase occurs here. Endurance and Endurance and hypertrophy occur here. Jogging happens here. Okay? And this is talking about being effective. Effective for a long time, which is why marathon runners are not on stage doing physique competitions. Okay? If you're working on this, then you're talking about becoming very efficient. I'm doing something for a long time. I want to be a Prius or a minivan. Okay? Over here, I want to be a Ferrari or a muscle car. Okay? Does everybody make sense? Does that make sense to everybody? And so that's also how you associate these, because that's what you're going to really need to know about. It's somebody going to be like, so tell me a little bit before you train me about adenosine triphosphate and the processes that are involved in the glycolytic system. Is that how you change dramatic? No, it hasn't. That's not going to happen. But you do want to tell somebody, yo, what we're here to do is we're going to work on strength, on muscle building, and all of those things are going to happen in what is called the glycolytic system, Joni. Okay? Now, you don't really need to know what that means, but I can tell you that the stuff that you're looking for is something that's going to take you about 50 to 60 seconds to complete. And you're in that tension, and you take that break, and then you come back at it when you feel normal. Okay? And if you're doing anything other than that, Johnny, then I can tell you we're not working on your goals. We're working on either becoming marathon runners, and that's where you say, have you seen any marathon runners that look like you want to look on the beach? No. Okay? Have you seen sprint runners that look like that? Closer? Still not, right? So it's just about what applies to your clients, okay?
So does the oxidative state kick in when the pyruvic acid comes up?
Yes, when pyruvic acid, so now we've done aerobic, great question, we're now in aerobic, and then the aerobic glycolysis is led for pyruvic acid to be the waste product, right? Where the other one is lactic acid. Now, because your body is constantly doing waste management through blood systems, which we spoke about, that's why you're like, oh my God, that burns. And then you come off the stair stepper and you shake it and it stops burning you, correct? Soreness is tear. You tore muscle fibers. Lactic acid passes, okay? Lactic acid is the burn that you pass inside of that workout, okay? So once you have that pyruvic acid, you're going into the oxidative system. There are 3 stages to the oxidative system. We do not need to go into them in some sort of deep fashion, but we do need to touch on it, okay? We got 2 and 3. Number 1 is? Yes, okay, so that's what it is. So number 1 is going to be our aerobic glycolysis. Right? Because we needed to get to aerobic glycolysis in order to create that pyruvic acid. Everybody with me? And that's Pyruvic, pyruvic acid. That gives us what then leads into the Krebs cycle. Okay? The Krebs cycle will lead you into the electron transport chain. Wow, that all sounds so much fun.
ETC.
Electron transport. Okay? You don't need to know how each of these systems work, but you do need to know why the oxidative system is able to do what it does. Each step here created ATP. Okay? Because glycolysis created ATP, one of the byproducts was ATP. Then, there was also that pyruvic acid that was left over as another waste product. That came over into the Krebs cycle. The Krebs cycle uses pyruvic acid to create ATP. So that's again one of the smaller than it is in the ATP-BC system. The amount of ATP you're getting back is less than what you were getting in ATP-BC or in glycolytic systems. But you are using a little bit of the ATP that comes out and the waste product to make the next little bit of ATP that comes out, and the waste product sends to the electron transport chain, which again creates just a little bit of ATP. Does that make sense? So you're talking about how the oxidative system, which is these 3 right here, okay? These are the 3 facets. You're talking about how the oxidative system is created through 3 steps, okay? And at every single moment, you will have ATP as a byproduct, okay? ATP will always be the reason we're doing anything. That make sense?
Yes.
Any questions so far? Okay, good. Let's go into a special treat, okay? So, you may have noticed that James and Maddie stepped into a room. They are both pledge team trainers. which means that they work with Flesh Fitness, and they are here to train you guys, okay? So what we're gonna do is y'all's exercise today will be led by them, so that you can see what it's like for somebody to train in small groups, you know, in our particular effective manner, okay? So what I want you guys to do is just break up, how many do we have, 8 today? So just break up into 4 and 4, because the closest over there, you've got that cluster can go with James, and then these guys can go with Maddie. They're going to lead you through an interior full body workout. I think that's what you're doing. Are you doing the same?
Yeah, we have the same one.
Yeah.
Same workout. Great. So you have an interior full body workout, which means that it's full body. Most things will be pushes and extensions. Okay? Notice what's going on, but more importantly, okay, because I know we delve in class, and because of experience, the practical training experience for you guys is on the lower end, and it means that we can get caught thinking too much, right? What I want you to take in today with these guys is to see the effectiveness of understanding how to put that program together, how to speak with authority, how to tell people what they're doing, how they're doing it, right? How to account for modifications that may occur inside of the workout. Those are the things that we're looking for here, okay? Very good. And then I have you guys for 30, right? Right. So we'll go for 30 minutes, and then I will take you back. You go for 30 minutes with them, and then I will take you back. We're going to go into a quick stretch routine, okay? A little bit of a burnout maybe before that stretch routine. We'll see how you guys are feeling, and then we'll get back in class. Okay? Everybody with me? Well, yes. Good. All right, guys, go break up. For you guys, okay? So you used to be like, great job, bye. Be like, okay, hold on. Where are the tests? Anybody need a pen or some extra paper? I got some of that too while Sean sets up.
I'm ready.
Okay, you ready? Good.
Yeah.
Let's roll. Okay, so we have been talking about energy systems. We talked about ATPC. We talked about the glycolytic system, glycolysis, and then we talked about the oxidative system. Let's talk, and then we talked about how all those interplay and the differences between each of them. Do we all feel comfortable with that information that we took in? Now on the screen. So let's move on and take a look at the last part of this, which is some little details that we overlooked, and then how those details can play into how you craft these programs that you're going to put together for people. Okay. The first thing that I wanted to make sure we took a second to talk about was that this is going to lead into. This is going to lead into one of the reasons that people think, I told you guys about fasted cardio, and people saying, yeah, fasted cardio is better. Is it? I don't know. Doesn't seem like it really is scientifically, but if you feel better running in a fasted state, then it might be good for you, right? Because some people don't like running with food in their bellies or with anything like that. So that's also, again, another moment where people like to go into something called beta oxidation. So here we go. We're going to turn science into some marketing, okay? Beta oxidation happens during the oxidative, it happens inside of the oxidative system. Obviously it's called oxidation, so there will be oxygen involved. It is the first step to the oxidation. I'll read it right off for you. The first step in the oxidation of fat is a process referred to as beta oxidation or B oxidation. If you don't know how to write beta, do it like this. Alright? So, beta oxidation is the breakdown of triglycerides into smaller subunits called free fatty acids to convert free fatty acids into acetyl-CoA, which is one of the molecules that helps you break things into the necessary particles when you're going from that glycolysis, that aerobic glycolysis, into the Krebs cycle, and ultimately leading to the production of that ATP. Is everybody understanding the words that are coming out of my mouth right now? Okay, good. So, because there's a breakdown of fat, all of a sudden everybody says, well, then going for runs is the best way to burn fat. Right? And then if I'm going to go for runs, then I have, a certain zone where fat burning occurs, right? Right after I said fat is used as a fuel in here, the rest of that became BS, okay? Because just because your heart is a certain rate does not mean that you're at a fat burning zone, okay? How many carbohydrates you use for energy and how much of your stored fat you use inside of your workouts has everything to do with the the intensity and duration of those workouts, right? A harder workout versus a lower workout will use different ratios of carbohydrates to fat, right? So let's say that there's a gas tank, and that gas tank I'm putting in an equal amount of carbohydrates and fat, right? And depending on the type of work, I may use more carbohydrates. So for glycolytic hardcore work, I'm going to use carbohydrates. But if I'm doing oxidative long-term stuff, then I'm going to be relying more on stored fat. Okay? That is the nugget of truth there. That then I go ahead and say, well, then obviously being on a treadmill like this at 120 beats per minute is my fat burning zone, right? No. A tough workout, whether it burns more carbohydrates in a ratio sense, it burns more carbohydrates than it does burn fat. You still burn more fat with the tough glycolytic workout than you do in a long, steady oxidative workout. Okay? So there are good examples in the book where they do the whole math for you, but essentially the idea is this. So let's talk about somebody who just walked for an hour. Sorry, that was terrible. Let's say we're talking about 60 minutes, okay? And we're talking about LSD versus long-term distance versus, let's say, high intensity interval training with weights, okay? This is a tougher workout. Are we all agreed? Mm-hmm. So here you may have burned 60% carbs and 40% fat, okay? Over here, you may have burned 55% fat and 45% carbs, okay? So yes, we burn more fat when you compared it to the carbs that we burned, okay? And so in order to do that, what we did is we said, well, I'm gonna do fasted cardio, so I'm not gonna eat. And then I'm gonna go on here, and then it's great because most of the fat, most of the calories that I'm burning are from fat, from my stored fat, okay? Not how that works, right? Yes, you're burning stored, or not how it works practically. Practically, you're gonna burn here 600 calories, and here you're gonna burn about 350, okay? 40% of 600 is still more than 55% of 350. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Right? You're talking about total work put out, you're talking about total calories burned, and total calories burned totally trumps ratio of calories burned. Does that make sense? Are you understanding that? Okay. So that's where you see something like, well, beta oxidation is a thing. Fat is a thing we're going to break down into free fatty acids. We got to do that because free fatty acids will promote your metabolism, turning into a fire. All of that sounds really real, but it's simply not. And if you know the processes behind it, then you can change the fitness industry through that. Which is kind of the point, isn't it? It's not just like if somebody is, I'd rather sell good medicine than sell well-marketed crack. You know what I'm saying? I prefer my goal in life is to be able to sleep at night. So that is also one of your goals. And this is probably going to be one of the best ways to aim your business. Whether it's you or a team or 500 locations. What you put in the first day will add longevity. If you're relying on quick tricks and marketing, pizzazz, I guarantee you it will run out. It will run out because eventually regulation and education overcome opportunity. Every time, every field, look at doctors these days, okay? Things get regulated, and then you're in trouble because you've been pushing things that make no sense. Okay?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please ask all the questions.
So this is because of the energy phase you're training in, right?
Energy phase and energy phases are based on intensity and duration, correct? So it really all comes down to intensity and duration, right? You can't, if you are in a long intensity, if you're looking at equal duration, 30 minutes of this chill stuff versus 30 minutes of this hardcore stuff, I don't care that this one uses, the chill stuff uses more fat than it does carbs. Because you're never going to burn as many grams of fat, or as many calories from fat, doing that chill stuff versus the total amount of calories and the total amount of calories and fat that you'll burn in that thing, in the hardcore one, in the HIIT one, or the glycolytic focused one, right?
Okay, so when you're doing something for long durations of time, you're burning fat, right?
You're always burning fat and using carbohydrates as fuel. You're always using carbohydrates and fats as fuel. The question is, I mean, unless you're really in the first part of that curve, because in the first part of that curve, in the ones that are anaerobic, you're just using stored ATP that is regularly available, right? The concepts of using carbohydrates and fats are as your main power sources happen when you've passed the first anaerobic, non-oxidative phases. That's when you're a long time. Okay? Now, if you remember that glycolysis has an oxidative component, right? So if you hit that full stage glycolysis and relax, and hit that full stage glycolysis and relax, that's what we're talking about when we're talking about HIIT, right? So you're still doing great work, you're still going to burn carbs and fats, you're also going to use your ATP, so you're going to be working on resistance and aesthetics and endurance, as opposed to just endurance. Right? Okay. General guideline is after 90 minutes of exercise, you're going to be out of glycogen, okay? You're going to be out of your readily available ATPs, and that glycogen would be the stored glucose that helps you make that ATP. So you're out of what's readily available, and you're also out of the stores that you would use to create more of that ATP, okay? 90 minutes is going to be general. If you are a badass, then you will get about 50% more than that, right? So you can definitely see you might see yourself doing it. You can work out for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and you're still okay. Now I'm talking about you working, right? You're not on the phone and doing whatever. You are working out, right? 2.5 hours of working out will kill you unless you are very, very fit, okay? Good little touch there, attachment there. Okay, we talked about the different energy systems, right? When we're in the oxidative system, we talked about the oxidative system, right? So here we go. The oxidative system also has one little thing that's very interesting. Okay, so you can tell me what EPOC is.
It's how much extra oxygen you expend versus it's like the time over, you know what I'm getting to, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah. It's like 1 minute of this, you have to have 2 minutes of...
Kind of like that, yeah. Well, there's two things. There's a work to rest ratio here. Work to rest ratio that will increase EPOC. So EPOC is excess post-oxygen consumption, okay? So when you go into that oxidative system, you're like, yeah, woo-hoo, I got my oxygen flowing, and you stop working. The second you hop off that treadmill, okay? Did like the oxygen just drop and stop? No, right? You're still off of there, still going, right? Shorter periods of work will have a little bit of EPOC, a few minutes of work, will have a few minutes of EPOC. A long workout will have a long EPOC space, okay? That's one of the great things about working out with high intensity for an hour, whether that be lifting or body weight or cardio or bar or whatever you want it to be. But one of the greatest things is that when you work out properly for an hour, the workout doesn't technically stop the second you finish. Okay? Some people say that EPOC can go on for 48 hours to 72 hours after your workout. I say that's marketing making its way back into your life again. Okay? You may have a 2-to-1 ratio. There's 2-to-1 ratios will appear in a lot of ways. The best way to unlock EPOC is to do twice the work to half the rest. Okay? So if I rest for 60, then I worked for 120. I worked for 2 minutes. And then I rested for a minute, right? That is the essence. Everybody know what Tabata is? Yeah, raise your hand if you don't know what Tabata is. Okay, so Tabata is the master of working on those oxidative systems. And also, depending how you put it together, it can work for other things. But essentially, it's the master of 2-to-1 work ratio. Okay? A Tabata workout, which I highly recommend you try out. It is a very easy workout to put together, and it will kill everyone. So this is an 8 by 8. Okay, so 8 exercises for 8 rounds. 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off. Okay? So I picked 8 exercises. How well you pick those so that it's not back, 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 chest, 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 because you won't be able to do that. But if you go back, chest, upper, lower, press, pull, okay? Then you'll make it through 8 different exercises. You'll do each of those exercises for 20 seconds. So let's say it's push-ups. I push for 20, then I rest for 10. I push for 20, then I rest for 10. I push for 20, and I do that 8 times, okay? Does that sound rough? Because it is. Very rough, and the magical part of that is it's very modifiable. So if you have, I have my 60-year-olds and my 80-year-olds doing Tabatas. They're doing their version of the Tabata. 4 rounds, okay, of 6 different exercises, right? So that way we're doing, now what's great is that that's an easy way to do it. Look, 8 times 8 is a 64-round exercise. 4 by 6 is a 24-round Tabata, okay? This full Tabata, so it's 8 by 8, 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off. So 10 seconds off rest inside each exercise. Okay? 2 minutes in between exercises. This whole thing should take you 32 minutes to complete. It's a great story behind Tabata. Tabata is actually the last name of Dr. Tabata, which sounds like an evil genius. Dr. Tabata created this program, and back in like 87 or something like that, he had the Norwegian cross-country team come on down to his lab. He hooked them up with electrodes and did all the fancy things that people are supposed to do when they're doing proper studying or proper research, and everyone threw up, and everybody was pissed, and the coach was pissed, and then they looked at the results. And the results were that as far as metabolic activity was in return for your pay, this is it. Okay? You're talking about something that will push you right to the edge, it's highly modifiable, and your body is constantly working within that first 20 seconds of work, okay? The more Tabata you do, the better you get at it, just like everything else. Okay? Any questions about Tabata?
How do you spell it?
T-A-B-A-T-A. All right, guys. So, we've reached the end of the pre-written, pre-programmed lecture. Any questions for me at all, wide-ranging, about fitness, fitness business, personal fitness, client fitness, any questions whatsoever?
How do you have top clients here? Is it like, do you have athletes, old people, or how do you know?
Very good question. So demographic and you. That's the local brand. So demographics and you. I would highly suggest, Courtney and I have a conversation about this. Do you have people who are your general type of people? Do you have, who? Let's make this a little bit more academic here. So your demographic is going to be a combination of people who naturally surround you, your people, right? So if you're a funny guy, funny regular guys, if you're if you're a mommy, then probably mommies and kids, right? What is your natural pool that you're in? Then you're going to have who you'd like to train. Right? So if I like athletes, and I like it because I get it. Athletic training, working with an athlete can be pretty rewarding. It looks just like it looks like on Instagram. You're going to see the results translated right onto the floor when they hit the court or the field or whatever, okay? But there's very few athletes, right? If you're talking about NFL athletes, you're talking about 0.00001% of the entire population. Okay, so let's go into some minor leagues and some whatever. All right, we're still talking about 0.0003% of the population, okay? So that's another factor that you're looking at. And then you have the third factor, which is who walked in? Who actually walks in, right? so this is where that meets, and that's what you're actually going to be training mostly, okay? It's a core combination. Now that will usually be something that you're thinking about, just like we just discussed, but there's the reality of who's actually walking in. For example, if you work at this gym, then likely your clients are going to be people from the Bel Air area, from the River Oaks area, from Westview area, which means that they're going to be, if they're not kids, then they're the people who own the kids, right? And it's going to be 40 to 80 people who are looking for general fitness, quality of life. They might be trying to get jacked. They may be trying to, increase their vertical, sure. But you're going to have that as your main demographic, right? This is something that you can translate into where you go work. If you want to go work with athletes, I suggest you go do an Exos internship, or you go see if you can get placed with Exos, and many other places where you can go do that. If you want to, just as satisfying as it is to get a guy to have a 58-inch vertical, it is also extremely satisfying to have an 80-year-old woman start to walk again. Okay, and that happens at senior communities. So whether you're independent or you're going to go out and work there at their gyms, that exists. Okay, if you want to train kids, I suggest you go work at a place that works with the youth, right? If you're demographically centered, then I suggest you either start off with that demographic, but expect to not make as much money as you ramp up, because you're saying, I train this type of person, right? I see people here who say, this is a big mistake to get into. So if you like to train young people, they don't have money, right? So then you better train the young people who have people who will pay for their stuff. Right? I see this all the time, right? Athletes, you want to train athletes? Athletes don't make money, right? Unless they're the athletes that we all know, right? Otherwise, you're just a dude who was working his butt off just like everybody else to make it in an industry and doesn't pay very well at those levels, right? So thinking about that is wildly important. Does that kind of, a little bit on that?
So the online training and in-person training, which one pays more?
Good question. Online training will have lower overhead. Okay?
Lower.
So overhead is the amount of money or fixed costs that you pay to be in a location. So if I want to open an online training business, then I would, what am I paying for? The website, right? I gotta pay the domain, I gotta pay the actual website creation, unless I can do it myself, or I want to do it on Wix or something like that, which is how we started. But if you want to, don't be fooled by the ease of online training, okay? It is still expensive, it's still tough, but yes, over time, you have a lower overhead, and as long as your clients are in large numbers, because you can't charge for online like you can charge for in-person, correct? So let's go into a little bit of this. The way that you decide what model, for example, between online and personal would be, is you'd say, how many clients can I handle, client capacity, I would take overhead costs, and I would take billable rate. That answers all your questions right there, okay? If I train, can I train 100 people in person as one human? No. Can I charge $100 for an in-person session? Yes. Can I charge $100 for an online session? I'll have a hard time, right? I mean, you guys have seen hopefully some online fitness training programs. How much do they cost?
Like
30 bucks, 50 bucks. You're paying $100 for an online thing. You must be getting that.
it comes with a meal plan and all that.
There you go. And it's just value adds, correct? So, different type of product. You're talking about a lower price point. You're talking about you're going to need a lot more volume, which means you're also going to have to worry about how you acquire that volume. In person, well, in person is going to mean that you're doing your meeting, your networking, you're doing print advertising, online advertising, but in online world, what are you doing? Pretty much online advertising. So you better get ready for that, because that costs one way or another. It'll either cost you your time to figure out how to do it, and it is very complicated, or doable, or you will be using your money to pay for somebody to do it for you, right? These are the basic questions. If you guys go, I guarantee this for you, if you guys go into training with financial literacy, meaning your cost of living club table, and if you get a table at the club, well, that's your cost of living. I want to donate $1,000 to Make-A-Wish, that will be in your cost of living, correct? So what does it cost to be you? That will first of all answer the question of how much money do I need? Once you have this, then you worry about client rate, client number, how many clients can you actually handle, right? Those are the client capacity. That's the way that we put those two things together, right? You want to find out which version, when you put it on paper, makes most sense for you. You can make a ton of money personal training in person, and you can make a ton of money personal training online. The question is, and the reality is, how well prepared are you? Are you hitting all the facets that are necessary for you to be successful? Are you marketing? Are you delivering great customer service? Do you have great customer retention? All of those things. If you're hitting all those things, then you'll have a chance at success. And the reality is that success does, work your butt off. But Sean knows this because he's in our team. Don't do things with expectation of return. Winning takes care of itself. Colonel Sanders was 67 when KFC hit off. Okay, was Colonel Sanders now working for the other 45 years, I assume, since he picked up some sort of work tool? No, I'm sure the man was working his butt off the whole time, right? So you just do it and do it and do it and do it, and hopefully it works out. But either way, you did it because you're the type of person who wants to sleep at night and make the world a better place. Done. The rest of it will happen just fine. You don't need to be Colonel Sanders to have your cost of living nice and paid for, correct? Any other questions?